And we continue at 2:06 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wangs in Culver City.
John, before all of the insanity this week, we had something that we just didn't have time to get to. One of our listeners, Tony, loves to play around with AI. And what he likes to do is he likes to take an AI application, make it listen to a bunch of our drops, and then it pops out a song. It's done this for the California Crime Blotter. It has done it for Shang Tao.
Absolutely.
And over the weekend, before all the madness took over the headlines, he did one for Barbara Ferrer. It's called the Next Slide Song. Should we listen?
Let's listen.
Whoa! I walked into the store with a vibe so great. Cashier looking lost like, are you new to this city? If the cashier is dummy, that's a public disgrace. So I gave him the full face, not just the resting face. I said, Google it. When he asked for ID, then I tripped on a Comart accountability. Hey, Karen, stop being Karen, take a seat. We got snowflake weepies melting in the heat. Next slide, we've leaned in too deep.
That's clever. Keep it going.
Oh, my. Let's keep going here.
Next slide, we've leaned in too deep. We're as dumb as we wanna be, can't even sleep. I receive things on both ends, emotionally fried. The evidence is like crystal clear, we tried.
The evidence is like crystal clear on that.
Period, full stop, enough. Oh, ain't no wobbly knees, our eyes rising tough.
Hey, even Gascon got in there.
They all get an honorable mention.
We got some wobbly knees allies.
Quite frankly, I don't know why we're so damn sheepish. I have a hard time understanding this. In LA we spell leader KDL, but it smells like bull that destroyed our citadel. I got tech issues, I've got mask issues.
I have tech issues.
It's funny, but just remember, this technology is coming for us next.
Oh, the robots are going to kill us all.
I got tech issues, I've got mask issues, and no patience for your bare-faced issues. Because we are the defund of police, people right, and less tolerant of bull. Now go see the light.
Hey, Eunice's got a hit in there.
They're all in there.
Because we are the defund the police people, right?
Questions? Next slide. Look at my papaya. Get out of my way. And I
Wait, the papaya person got in there? Wow, this is a deep cut.
If that papaya woman only knew that she became famous.
Do I even have the papaya drop still on here? I think I got to pull it up from the old folder, because that's a drop from like 2022. Look at my papaya. I got to see if I have it. I bet you I do. Here we go. It's from March of 2023.
Look at my papaya. It's dried already.
Poor woman has a dried papaya.
Look at my papaya. It's dried already.
I think that papaya's dead.
Look at my papaya. Get out of my way. And I want you to be all the way pissed off like Max Volume. It's about damn accountability.
So that's what AI can do. And it's fun and it's interesting that AI listens to this show and that's what it comes up with. But at some point, it's going to be doing what I'm doing.
And what I'm doing. And then you and I are basically unemployable anywhere else.
We work in radio. We have no other skills.
I can beat that. I have 2 degrees in political science. That's the definition of no skills. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Well, between what's going on the streets of downtown L.A., other big cities around the nation, now we have international conflict going on in the Middle East. It's been a very, very busy news week. And if you've been watching the news, they've been covering all of that. If you've been listening to this program, We basically focus more on the local than the international, but there's been a lot of talk about what's going on in downtown L.A. Just because that's going on doesn't mean that crime stops. But we haven't been hitting the California Crime Blotter quite as hard because there have been more pressing issues. But Randy, it's time to catch up on just exactly what we've missed this week. Let's open up the California Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy,
Questions?
And to the surprise of no one, we're going to start out in Oakland.
I said, hell no, baby boy. Let me get up on out of here.
What do you think you find when you clear out a massive homeless encampment in Oakland?
I can only imagine.
For more, here's KTVU, Fox 2.
New reaction tonight to the closure of a massive homeless encampment in Oakland, an operation the city is calling, quote, a huge success. While neighbors are glad to see the East 12th Street camp finally cleared out, some homeless advocates are upset about how it...
This is just like the people that they interview for the high-speed chase story, the Anti-Police Terror Project. Do not take seriously what homeless advocates have to say about anything.
No, because they want those encampments up there forever. They don't want anyone to ever be moved out. They want them to be able to do drugs and steal your mail.
And a lot of these advocates personally profit from that situation. These are the nonprofits that get funded by that situation only getting worse. So their opinion doesn't matter.
Some homeless advocates are upset about how it was handled. KTVU's John Krinjak has more.
I was driving by, and I was shocked to see the whole encampment was clean.
These aerial
It's not something you expect in Oakland.
No, I'd be surprised too.
These aerial shots showing two strikingly different scenes along East 12th Street in Oakland. A massive homeless encampment near 14th Avenue and Interstate 880 has now been fully shut down.
We have customers that drive by now and they was amazed. Hey, we can see the freeway again.
We can see the freeway again.
Oh, look, there's a sidewalk.
The huge operation began...
Hey, I can see the bay.
There's water over there.
The huge operation began May 12th with crews removing more than 400 tons of debris, including 33 abandoned cars.
Wait a minute. 400 tons of debris from one homeless encampment?
It was a biggin.
That's what you would expect if you implode the Stardust in Las Vegas. But a homeless encampment?
Well, let's find out what that debris was made of.
Began May 12th with crews removing more than 400 tons of debris, including 33 abandoned cars.
30. And you know, every single one of them was stolen.
How many abandoned cars did you see when you were going to the A's Angels game last summer?
There was no place to park. And it wasn't even just cars. It was Winnebagos. And they were spray painted, and most of them were burnt out, like a bomb went off.
Including 33 abandoned cars.
It was an eyesore.
Yeah.
And it was very hard for them to tackle it.
Notably, a fire erupted just one day after the work began. A blaze city officials say was able to be contained.
So while they're clearing the homeless encampment that takes multiple days because it's that big, a fire breaks out.
Now, how did the fire break out?
Meth?
Just lots of flammable things in that encampment?
Well, typically, when you're clearing out encampments, there are a lot of propane tanks in these things, whether it's little ones for blowtorches for the meth pipes or big ones because they're cooking in there, and those things are usually not well kept.
So while they were clearing out the encampment, something exploded.
Yes. This happens very frequently where I live in the San Fernando Valley, and it sounds like grenades going off.
Again, back to my theory that the entire state of California has become one episode of Looney Tunes.
Because of the fire breaks they'd put in. Then this week, Oakland PD found a body here.
Whoa!
How many stolen cars?
33.
33. Okay.
33 abandoned cars.
Abandoned cars, one explosion, and one dead body.
We let this thing get way out of hand.
Well, I think it's great that it's been cleared up.
The city says so far 70 people who lived in the 12th Street encampment have moved in here to this converted hotel called Mandela House. A total of 106 people are now living here, including some...
Well, there used to be 107.
including some from a camp in Mosswood Park that was closed last month, and another on MLK Way that was cleared last September.
When the individuals go into Mandela House, they will be offered wraparound services, an opportunity to get counseling. There'll also be services to provide them with the next step or the pathway to long-term housing.
Can that guy smoke meth through a trach hole?
Don't smoke, kids. Don't smoke.
What brand do you think that guy smokes?
Is to provide them with the next step or the pathway to long-term housing.
I think that was just one big talking cigarette.
If you've ever wondered if you can diagnose someone with lung cancer just from hearing them talk.
The next step or the pathway to long-term housing.
Those are unfiltered that he's smoking.
The city did not keep its word.
Some homeless advocates say the city moved too fast.
Too fast?
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
There were 400 tons of garbage. How is that too fast?
Because if the timeline is never, then clearing it out at any point in time is too fast.
Too fast in clearing the East 12th encampment.
People lost medication. People lost their clothing, their food.
And they say many are still living on the street.
I've been able to reconnect with 54 people who lived in that encampment who were not offered anything.
The city says that number is much lower, possibly a couple dozen, adding some declined alternative shelter options. But they do acknowledge
we do not have enough space.
We're back to the Marlboro Man, huh?
We do not have enough space because there are over 1,400 encampments in the city of Oakland.
Oakland's not that big of a city.
1,400 encampments, says Cancer Man.
The city will now begin removing smaller debris from the 12th Street site, including needles left behind.
I love that she said, oh, yeah, clothes and medicine and all those things. Oh, no, it's needles and things that explode and dead bodies.
Hey, those needles are some people's medicine.
And say they have a long-term plan to clear out more encampments using bond money.
So hopefully we'll see more of that happening.
In Oakland, John Krinjak, KTVU Fox 2 News.
There you go. They cleared out the 12th Street encampment. Finally.
So dysfunctional. Every story that we do from that town is more ridiculous than the last one. You do realize that, right?
Who else do we go call Superman?
We'd like to think that Oakland is getting back on the right track. But so far, Barbara Lee doesn't sound like she speaks for me.
Quite frankly.
No. All right, let's reopen the blotter.
Here we go.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And now we're moving down to Southern California to the town where Dick Nixon was educated, Whittier.
Whittier is dealing with a nuisance party house.
Well, you don't want one of those on your block.
Let's see what's happening. Here's NBC4.
And new at 11, the city of Whittier is taking action against this notorious house on top of a hill that often throws all-night parties in the large backyard with floodlights and big crowds. After numerous complaints about this disruptive property, neighbors may soon have peace and quiet. NBC4's
Well, for a couple of days, and then the 4th of July fireworks are going to start in the end of June.
That sounds like a professional rave.
NBC4's Macy Jenkins is live in Whittier with the story for us. Macy.
Hi, Carolyn. Well, the city says it's been about 2 years since the parties began, that is. Now, we reached out to the property.
2 years long of a party every night?
Could you imagine living next to that?
Trying to go to bed, trying to put your kids to sleep, and it's just thump, 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 thump every single night.
I would lose my mind.
Now, we reached out to the property owners, but we were unsuccessful at reaching them. We did, however, speak with people in the community who say they are tired of the loud and disruptive parties in their neighborhood.
They have a music that is just annoying.
Oh, I need you in my life.
They have a music that is just annoying.
Okay, let's compare her to Phone Sex Shang.
All righty. Here's Whittier, lady.
They have a music that is just annoying.
And here's Shangy.
That's right. I like that. That was amazing.
Yeah, both of them could work for 1-900 numbers.
Let me just save this real quick. Music annoying. Okay, back to Whittier.
Sounds. It's not even a nice music. It's just horrible.
What do you think they're playing?
Not Beethoven.
On the top of the hill on Summit Drive, you'll find breathtaking views of L.A. and the party house causing a headache for both neighbors and the city of Whittier.
There'll just be generators running to like late hours in the morning. And sometimes parking gets really bad too. Sometimes there'll be like 20, 30 cars parked on this entire street going up and down.
This is a business at this point.
And Whittier is a quiet community. They're not used to this.
Up and down.
They have plates, food all over, beer cans and bottles.
Mayor Joe Vinatieri says the all-night event started in 2023, prompting countless police visits and citations for the property owners. The city finally seeking a court ruling last summer to shut down the operation.
It took 2 years?
Yeah. Well, if you have to go through the California court system, I'm surprised it didn't take 5.
The preliminary injunction said no parties. Well, guess what happened? There were parties after that.
Not sticklers for the rules over there at the party house, are they?
But the city is not backing down, announcing Friday an L.A. County judge has appointed a receiver to take control of the property.
What's going to happen, I believe, is the receiver will come in and be responsible for making sure that there's no more parties. That could mean that he...
How much is that person going to make sure there's no parties at this one house?
What do? Prevent them from buying booze at Costco?
That could mean that he closes the gate. There's a gate that goes into this property, and he controls the gate.
For Vinatieri, it's not just about preserving peace and quiet, but also preventing disaster in a high-risk fire area.
What happens if there's a party going on and somebody does something, a cigarette or something? But it's the safety of the people in the community to make sure that we don't have Eaton Canyon, we don't have Pacific Palisades here in Whittier.
The question remains, will this court order finally be enough?
We hope that he obeys the orders. We don't know.
Probably not.
No, he's definitely not.
Now, coming up in 2026, there is a court hearing set for a judge to decide on passing a permanent ban on parties at this house. And it's the receiver's job to make sure there are no parties on the property in the interim.
But that hearing's not until next year? Gosh, this moves slow.
Not if you ask that woman in Oakland. They're moving too fast.
They have a music that is just annoying.
I wonder if they're filming Revenge of the Nerds Part 18. Could be. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. All right, Randy, it's time to reopen the California Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And this edition takes us to San Francisco.
Somebody has been lighting kids' playgrounds on fire.
Like they did to the basketball court?
Well, that was shooting fireworks, but yes, like they did to the basketball court in Oakland.
Oh my God, they melted the basketball court.
For more, here's ABC 7 in the Bay Area.
An investigation is underway after a string of fires at children's playgrounds in one San Francisco neighborhood. They've all happened in the outer Richmond. Now, many are wondering, have they been targeted? ABC 7 News report.
It'd be weirder if they were random.
Well, they're either being targeted or the parks are where the drug addicts are, and the drug addicts like to start fires.
ABC 7 News reporter Luz Pena went to the neighborhood today and has the latest on the investigation.
Back-to-back fires at playgrounds in San Francisco's outer Richmond neighborhood has this community on edge.
This is targeted towards the kids. Like, who wants to target kids? It's crazy.
Gia Jacobs' youngest son, Samuel, is a student at Lafayette Elementary School. On May 1st, around 1:30 a.m., firefighters responded to an outdoor storage container that was on fire at the school's yard. At first, parents thought this would be the end of it.
The first fire happened, and we thought it was just sort of a fluke. fluke.
Then 9 days later, about 2 blocks away from this school, a second fire at Lincoln Park Playground.
Okay, now we've got a string of these things.
Now, maybe, and I'm just spitballing here, maybe what happened is one of the kids said, that slide is lit. And someone overheard that and took things too far.
The fire on May 10th at this park happened around 11 p.m. The fire burned a hole through a slide.
It's kind of... Whoa!
Yeah, you may want to avoid that slide till they fix it.
It's kind of scary.
8 days later, on May 18th, a third fire happened in this neighborhood, back at Lafayette Elementary School.
Randy, you have to be careful with those slides. Whenever you go on a cruise ship, as you know, I'm a cruise ship nerd, you can join a Facebook page for that particular sailing. So if you're going on, let's say, Jewel of the Seas that leaves on Friday, August the 15th, then everyone joins that Facebook page, and that's how you can connect with people who are on the cruise. If you're looking for someone to go golfing with, let's say, at one of the stops, you can find other people on that sailing, and you can make plans. Well, these Facebook pages also serve as a way to ask questions that you're interested in because for regular cruisers, they know a lot of the answers. One of the most common questions that you get on these Facebook pages is, can you go down the water slides if you weigh more than 300 pounds? That question is asked in just about every single one, and the answer is no, and they force you to stand on a scale before they let you go down the slide. So those slides are very delicate, and you have to be careful. So if you burn a hole through one of them, you definitely can't ride the slide, especially if you weigh more than 300 pounds.
The entire playground was burned. Samuel Jacobs remembers seeing a video of the blaze and thinking.
And I was like, what are they going to do next to our school?
On Wednesday, May...
This poor kid's already seen some real life.
Boy, he's growing up fast, isn't he?
On Wednesday, May 21st, around 11 p.m., multiple people called 911, reporting a fire at the Lincoln Park Playground.
What is the preliminary investigation leading you guys to?
It is abnormal and suspicious. This is not a spontaneous combustion. We are looking into these.
Well, I think that's obvious.
Yeah, the slide didn't light itself on fire.
This is not a spontaneous combustion. We are looking into these fires more than our average fire.
Now there's been a total of 4 fires in less than a month in this neighborhood. In a statement, the city's Rec and Parks Department said in part, the idea that someone may have deliberately targeted a space meant for kids is extremely disturbing. The city's fire department said they're working with the city's police department to determine if these fires were set by an arsonist.
When we have
Don't we have surveillance camera like everywhere nowadays?
You'd think.
When we have too close in a district at similar locations, i.e. a playground, that makes us more vigilant.
In the meantime, this mom is counting down the days for her son's school year to end, hoping nothing else happens, while decorating the burnt playground with other parents.
So the kids didn't have to stare at their burned down playground.
How do you decorate a charred slide?
Garland?
But ultimately, what they want are answers, since no arrests have been made yet.
Really hope that they can, sort of find out who's doing this.
In San Francisco, Luz Peña, ABC7 News.
There you go. 4 different playground fires in the span of a month in one neighborhood in San Francisco in the outer Richmond.
Okay, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that this is one crazy person. And the reason that it's hard to track them down is because getting into the mind of a crazy person is very difficult to do.
What is it? What sets him off? Is it the jungle gym? Is it the swing set? Is it the merry-go-round?
Do you remember some years ago, and I remember it quite vividly because I lived in the neighborhood where it was going on, but on around New Year's, there was an arsonist on the loose in Hollywood Hills, West Hollywood area. And what the guy would do is he would go to buildings that had a carport underneath the buildings, and he would light the cars on fire. and the buildings were in danger of pancaking because you have a fire down below, you can melt the building. And so people were worried that their cars were exposed, and this guy was picking specific buildings and specific zip codes with a specific setup. And we had all of these FBI profilers on the news talking about this, talking about how this is a very sophisticated arsonist, and this is an evil genius. This is someone who might have been working for a fire department at some point in their life. They might be an expert on public safety. They might be someone who has extreme intelligence when it comes to chemistry and physics and all of those things. And we heard these descriptions about this genius that was out, that was just one step ahead of the cops everywhere he turned. And you'd think he was over there, and he was over there. You'd think he was going to zig, and the guy zagged. And they talked about how intelligent this guy had to be, what kind of IQ he must have had. And then they finally caught the guy after he lit I don't know how many fires, and he terrorized all of Los Angeles for a very long period of time. And do you remember who it ended up being?
Who?
A mentally retarded illegal alien from Russia.
I can use that term, right?
Well, that's the technical term.
Okay, we'll keep it.
And I remember thinking, that's not the evil genius that they were talking about.
No, it wasn't.
And he was just pissed off because his mom was being deported.
I do remember that story.
Yes. I think we're dealing with someone just like that in San Francisco.
It's definitely possible.
Is this organized crime? Is this the cartels? Is this a street gang? Is this someone who's got a beef with the school district? Nope. It's just a crazy person who's pissed off. I bet you I'm right. And this week felt like it was a month, didn't it?
It's been a really, really, really long week, and it can feel like that when there's pretty much one story the entire week.
I feel like a truck ran me over. All right, what do you say we reopen the California Crime Blotter?
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And this one takes us to the city where my mother was born, Huntington Park.
Very different than Huntington Beach.
Yes, you're telling me.
A doctor in Huntington Park has to deal with squatters lighting fires on a roof.
Yeah, that's going to make it even harder for that guy to get insurance.
For more, here's KTLA.
The owner of a Huntington Park building has had enough after years of relentless problems, including fires, theft, and homeless encampments. She says her pleas for help have gone unanswered.
Now, after spending tens of thousands of dollars on repairs and security, she is desperate for a solution. KTLA's Kimberly Chang joins us live in Huntington Park, where she spoke to the frustrated owner. It's a story that you'll see only on 5. Hi, Kim.
Hi, she said she's been dealing with these issues for years and it's costing her too much money. She's even considering retiring. She's desperately looking for a solution.
She's better off quitting because of all the nonsense that's going on in the abandoned building next door.
Oh, I think a lot of people are basically in that position where you have all of this chaos going on around you. And it's one thing if you're 30, you have to put up with it because you have a lot of time left to work. But there are baby boomers now who are in the age range where they could work or they could be retired, and they basically get to choose which one they do. Well, if you get to choose which one you do, and working is becoming such a pain in the keister that it's ruining your life, that's when it's time to go spend your time playing golf and watching Judge Judy.
What was it, fire?
It's just a trash fire. People in the area say
just a trash fire.
That's it.
The area say encampments and fires are an ongoing problem. Crews put out a trash fire on the rooftop of a vacant parking structure near Rugby and Zoe Avenues in Huntington Park on Tuesday, and this wasn't the first time.
There's just nightly trash fires on the roof of a parking structure?
Just another day in Norman Rockwell's America.
In 2023, there was a fire at the building next door.
I guess they were throwing like a bonfire when it was cold. The fire department came up here and they ended up finding out that there was people living up there.
Dr. Tehani Solomon owns the building.
from tent, the barbecue, they was cooking.
She says people are living in the parking structure.
They're barbecuing in the parking structure?
Yeah, that's not good for anyone.
From tent, the barbecue, they was cooking.
She says people are living in the parking structure and at one point jumped over to her rooftop. She claims they stole her electricity and water.
It's just Lord of the Flies out there.
So many stories that we do on this show, you just ask yourself, so I guess that's not a crime. How many stories do we hear of squatters of the homeless stealing power, stealing utilities, and nothing happens to them? But if you're late on your DWP bill, you're screwed.
Well, and if you're stealing electricity and you don't know what you're doing, you could electrocute yourself. You could, I guess, start a fire. There's all kinds of danger associated with doing something like that.
They were running an electricity cord connected to the AC unit, and they were running it all the way to the parking structure next door. I guess at one point there was multiple tents in the parking structure, and then there was another tent on top.
Dr. Sol-
It's a whole village. You imagine trying to have patients come see you at your clinic, and they go to park, and there's just tents everywhere?
No. There's going to be one less doctor in Huntington Park.
Dr. Suleiman had the encampment removed, but the damage was already done.
They ruined my roof. I have to put new roof.
This poor lady.
Yeah, she's retiring.
They ruined my roof. I have to put new roof.
On top of that, she says parts have been stolen off of her
By the way, not for nothing, but this woman is clearly from another country. She clearly has an accent. English is not her first language. If you're going to her, if you're a patient and she's your doctor, and you're an English speaker, and she has to explain to you how to take the medication, there's going to be some confusion.
They ruined my roof. I have to put new roof.
On top of that, she says parts have been stolen off of her rooftop AC units multiple times, including 2 weeks ago.
They stole the air conditioning?
Well, that doctor's office is going to be warm.
We have very easy access to jump from this empty parking structure to our roof. We ended up putting a fence.
There's not a walkway. They just keep jumping from building to building like they're freaking Spider-Man.
Or Dick Van Dyke.
We ended up putting a fence with barbed wire. Yeah. They took that down.
They willingly made it look like a prison, and then that got all cut down.
Then we ended up caging our AC units. They took that down.
How much has this cost you in dollars?
So far, well, maybe 100,000.
At what point do you move?
Yeah, you got to get out of there. If you put a cage around your AC unit and they still found a way to break in and steal it, you make better mousetraps, you end up with smarter mice.
She's tried reaching out to police and the city for help.
I told them we have a building here empty, breeding, homeless. Do something about it. We will see, we'll see.
Solomon is hoping that the city can find a solution.
I don't deserve that. I work maybe for 50 years here in Huntington Park. Maybe somebody will help us to stop this misery. We can't continue like this.
Oh, they can.
Oh, yeah. It'll go on for a while, lady.
Now, I did reach out to the city of Huntington Park. A spokesperson said they will look into this, but we did not receive a response before airtime. Reporting in Huntington Park, Kimberly Chang, KTLA 5 News.
There you go. That doctor is definitely retiring.
And when they say we're going to look into it, that means nothing.
They know about this. Of course they've known about it. She's been complaining about it for years.
Now, we do know that the only thing that ever gets them to act on these things is when it's on the news and they are embarrassed publicly. So maybe this is the kick in the behind that they need to do something about this. Or who knows? It's a small city where very few people vote. So in those city elections, if the entrenched incumbents don't feel like they'll ever lose, what motivation do they have to do their job?
They have none.
No. It's so common, and it doesn't even matter if the city is big or small. It seems like everyone just gets ignored until it becomes a big spectacle. What are you going to do? All right, the never-ending week is finally coming to an end, at least for Randy and I. If you're listening to us at the office, you have 2 more hours before it's quitting time. Have a great weekend, everyone. Enjoy the good weather. Hopefully next week won't be quite as crazy. We'll be back on Monday at noon for another edition of The John Phillips Show.